for the climate. Many groups tend to espouse the thought that leaving the forest alone will actually ensure its protection or continued viability. Unfortunately, in my country, it doesn't work that way. Leaving the forest unmanaged in Indonesia effectively declares the area as an open range for encroachment, illegal loggers, and unsustainable developers. What we think are the solutions? We believe business has the imperative, the responsibility, the capacity to be involved in advancing a solution in collaboration with government and other stakeholders. I believe that Indonesian business can get this done. It is worthy to note at this session that an example of collaborations already been initiated and announced last night. The formation of the Indonesian Business Council for Sustainable Development, which was embodied the Indonesian Business Declaration on Climate Change and Development. The IBCSD, the Indonesian Business Council for Sustainable Development, will provide an effective platform to engage business in the long term and will broaden access to best practice and technologies offered by the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. Specific to our industry, it is very important since we are considered bad in managing the forest. Sustainable forest product industry, of which April is a part, delivers economic development and climate change solutions simultaneously. Our approach helps mitigate climate change without compromising, of course, the development right and opportunities of the people. Our industry creates jobs simply by harnessing atmospheric CO2, which, as we all know, is the basic raw material for growing our trees. The key to the success of this sustainable approach is to manage the forest resources in a way that protects the ecosystem and conservation values, including community interest, ensures the management of carbon balance of the operation, and provide a consistent and quality supply of fiber to meet global needs. As a case in point in our operations, our plantations absorb 4-5 times faster CO2 than natural reforest. In the case of the degraded peatlands, for example, our operations prove that we can reduce CO2 emissions by as much as 90%. Therefore, we in the sustainable forest products industry believe that forests that are responsibly managed can be a significant driver of economic growth while at the same time contribute to climate change mitigation. In summary, what the business needs to do all this in Indonesia is dependent upon an enabling environment, a set of policies that empower business to take full and active part in balancing the sustainable development with national solutions for climate change mitigation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rudi. Thank you very much for your intervention. Can I go now to Fernando Tudela? Fernando, you have been, by all means, would like to hear some of your experiences in Mexico and what other things you may have observed internationally.
Thank you, Andre, for your kind invitation. I'm here speaking on behalf of a developing country government that wants to play an increasingly proactive role in the climate change arrangement. In doing so, we have to undertake as close a relationship as possible with the private sector. What do we hear from the private sector? Well, obviously the mindsets are different, but we operate in the same world. What we hear from the private sector is the need for stable legal systems, arrangements that stay in place, an economic signal that is also stable, so that they can plan their participation within a time frame that sometimes is quite different from from the negotiators. I know that business is, for good reasons, increasingly impatient with the very slow progress in such a context here in Bali as a conference of the parties. We need to get a price for carbon that is increasing. We have to value something that had no price at all until recently. And if there are many ways of skinning a cat, there should be more than one way to put a price on carbon. Obviously, the CDM is one of them. But my own feeling, in spite of the success story that the CDM has been able to represent so far, the CDM is too small an engine to move the developing world. It can only operate on the fuel that stems from whatever part the developed world may want to undertake outside its domestic realm. So it's about relocating a commitment, not creating new commitments that may expand the size of the mitigation worldwide. And we need to scale up the mitigation efforts. So I understand that the scheme of the Kyoto Protocol, and within it, the part that the mechanism of the CDM is playing, it fills a chord. It conveys some setting that business is quite satisfied with. The cap and trade system, any businessman can understand that, and they are quite happy with it. But nevertheless, from the point of view of the entire system, both public and private, we have to recognize that there might be other schemes outside the cap and trade that may be required for moving forward the climate regime. The CDM currently is focused on projects, and the commitments from developed countries have to do with entire economies. And in between we find currently nothing. And we have to fill that gap. We have to work at scales that go from programs, policies, sectors, and subnational entities. There are subnational entities that are ready to act in a way that the whole nation is unable to do. Beyond the cap and trade, we also have to think in terms of funds, like the Montreal Protocol Fund. It was also a success story, and in my view, the private business has to learn how to operate not only within the cozy house of the cap and trade, but also within a much more complex strategy that we have to negotiate, starting here in Bali, and perhaps, hopefully, going to 2009 with a new arrangement, where other ways of getting a price for carbon could be achieved. In the long run, my friends, economists, think that a universal carbon tax may perform the trick. Obviously, we are not at the stage. A universal carbon tax is unmanageable for political reasons. But in the long run, we have to think in terms of funds that could be fed with carbon taxes